All right, decided to go live. Um, Nothing to hide. I was asked by I apologize ahead of time to the Khan O'Halloran from Australia. I apologize for butchering the name. I tried to Google it and see how it's pronounced in English, Australian, and I get 10 different answers. So I was asked on my last picture that updated from Indianapolis, I was getting treatment to have an update on stem cell treatment. And here you go. So, so make sure that everything's copacetic here. Yeah, we are doing good. All right, just making sure I can see comments. Hopefully it's done. So I do have a list on my other screen of the main functions of the MSA effects of the body. I'm not going to go into crazy detail, but I want you to hear it from me. I want you to see me. I don't want to hide anything because I feel that not only does my channel on YouTube and MSA Crusaders with Daisy Page actually mean something, but it's authentic. There's nothing to hide here. You can ask me any question in the world, and I would be completely truthful with you. Okay, we don't have time to lie to each other with MSA or to sugarcoat things. That's not the way to do things, right? So it's been 171 days, just 9 days short of 6 months since I had stem cells on November 2nd, 2024. And there's a lot of good, and there's also some bad. Um, as we know, things will not last forever. That's the way life goes. Or it says I have a message and I don't know how to access it. Let me see. A lot of information to talk about. And speaker mark, I don't see where it's at. Darn it. We'll have to figure this out. Oh, there's a chat. There it is. Yay. Marina, I appreciate your efforts raising awareness. I say I lost my best friend last year, and your channel is excellent. Thank you, Marina. Saying that correctly too. I often mispronounce names. Thank you. If you're honestly, if you're going to go out with a bang, right? I mean, I hate to say it like that, but my time is limited, and even more so 6 months later from stem cells, and we'll get to that point. My goal, since I've created the podcast, which I've invested, every penny I have into quality, into software, whatever, trying to show not only to give hope, but to give options. Right? Just because you have MSA does not mean you give up and die. You have to keep going, and there has to be someone there for you. And I hope to be that person. And if not, there has to be a reason. Your kids, your family, God, Jesus, Muhammad, whatever. There has to be something that keeps you going. And sometimes seeing another face, such as myself, that is being successful at fighting MSA could be the difference between life and death. So we'll leave it at that. So let's talk about things. So November 2nd, I started to notice the effects of stem cell treatments. I had 2 IVs within a 10-day span, 2 IVs and a spinal injection. So I did have some major pain on the spinal injection. That's because I moved. Things in Mexico are not the same things as the United States as far as treatments. I'm sure it's the same way in Australia or New Zealand or UK, whatever. So I moved. They licked my spine or the membrane, and that was my fault. So we will not talk badly about people, about the doctors, because they did their job. And aside for those 2 days, everything has been wonderful. I've had the same MSC stem cells that you get from the Mayo Clinic from Cleveland Clinic, from any other clinical trials, right? The difference is where they put them in on me with my spine and my IV. The spine is just across the blood-brain barrier, which worked, and also how many. Uh, I got in the billions with a B, and most people on these clinical trials got in the millions with an M. So there is a vast difference. The quality of the stem cells, where they come from, and how many determines a lot. Okay, so from the first day we had the treatment, I noticed changes to my, I want to say bladder, but that's not the word, to my private area, and that was really good. That's the first thing I noticed, and it might have been passing the stem cells out of my body. You know, of course, I didn't digest them. They were intravenously put in the stem cell, so that wouldn't make sense though. But that same day, I got more sensation back to parts of my body, which was great, right? Instead of being numb. So the first thing we talk about here is affected by the MSA is the autonomic nervous system, right? The things that are automatic with me, with us. So number one is bladder. Did sorry, we're in chats. The question is, did the stem cells help my bladder? Yes. When they first started, the bladder was kind of low. It was I had incontinence and urgency. It took a few weeks for the stem cells to actually give me positive and better pressure for expelling urine or going to the bathroom. Number one, and for the last 4 or 5 months, it worked perfectly fine. I didn't have any accidents. I was able to sense that I had to go to the bathroom and ahead of time and get there without having an accident on myself, right? So that was very positive. Now, one thing I have to be very clear about this is I have to kind of stop when we're talking about stem cells and its benefits, because I had total reverse shoulder replacement. The scars and it was actually pretty good. I got 3 scars, but they were this is all steel, all metal. So I had that done in February 28th, 26th, and since then things have changed too, right? So you have to understand. Right now, ever since February 28th, I've been dealing with MSA, stem cells, and a total shoulder replacement. Not very easy for someone to do, and I'm not sure many people would actually do that, given how bad MSA makes everything in your body, right? So I will say, after the anesthesia for my shoulder surgery, major surgery, the anesthesia seems to have shot my bladder. And I say it because from the moment I got out of surgery, it was general anesthesia, put me under, my bladder stream was not wasn't forceful. It was very hard. I had to wait. It is getting a little bit better, but the anesthesia definitely shot my bladder, and I blame the anesthesia for that, because anesthesia and MSA is not necessarily a good thing, right? Dry mouth. So my bladder, up until surgery in February 28th, was doing good, doing really good. Not many accidents, hardly any. So stem cell, I connect that exactly to stem cells. Okay, because I actually stopped taking my bladder medication months before that, because I don't want to be on extra medication. Bowel movements. I take a lot of pain medication. Not a lot. I take pain medication. I take a lot because of my shoulder surgery, but pain medication makes you constipated, hard stools, and before stem cells, I was having incontinence and urgency, and even when as a man, when I when I would urinate, I would often go number two as well, have a bowel movement, because I couldn't control the muscles. That's how you push everything out, whether it's the bladder or your colon. You push everything out with coordinated muscle movement, and if you don't have that, you can have accidents all the time. So again, after my surgery on February 28th for shoulder surgery, I had quite a few accidents because the anesthesia shot my body. Matter of fact, we started to have put down like protective pads on the bed and the couch and things, to actually, protect it from getting dirty because of the shock of the anesthesia did to my body with MSA. But up until that point, and even after that, I have regained my bowel movements again. Now they are slowly going away, having the control. So up until that surgery, stem cells were doing very well. And again, the anesthesia from the surgery knocked that out. And now I still have the same issue. I still have the incontinence. I'm sorry, I have the constipation, and it's hard to move bowel movements out. So I have a diet where I will have very hard stools, because having hard stools, in my own personal opinion, is way better than having loose stools. Diarrhea, just because of how many times you wipe and the rubbing the skin. I know there's ways to clean yourselves, but I would rather have a hard stool than a soft one. So again, the surgery knocked that out for a while, and I'm coming back to my pre-surgery stages of doing pretty good with bowel movements, believe it or not. Blood pressure. Um, you haven't really seen. I said it before. I don't really. My dizziness, blacking out, and the highs and lows of blood pressure went completely away. I mean, I'm still able to do a lot of things here without getting dizzy. And after surgery, my shoulder surgery did not affect that, thankfully, that I know of. But I am starting to see it creep back up now. It's not disturbing, but I still have this dizzy sensation. It's there, but it's not distracting, which is great. Okay, so the problem is we just went to the hospital, had a whole bunch of tests done, and my blood pressure is now steady at like 160 over 100 high. So before, I was having low numbers that I've never had before, like 112 over 55. I mean, I was having great lower numbers that did not go up or down. They stayed perfect. And again, so I believe the stem cells are more or less just starting to wear off. My wife believes that. My mom believes that. My daughters. So stem cells are starting to wear off after 4 or 5 months. And there's blood pressure is rock solid. Yesterday in Indianapolis, they took like 10 times, and every single one of them was like in the 150s over 100, like 98, 98, 99. So it was, there's no difference between standing up, sitting down, walking, anything. They put me through a bunch of PFT tests, but pulmonary function tests. So quite surprised how that blood pressure has stayed significantly high. But my heart rate is not high. So the stem cells still has my heart rate under control, which is great. All right. But again, the high blood pressure could be causing my dizziness to come back. But I do believe after a solid 4 months of stem cells, the benefits are starting to wear off over the last 2 months. And we can tell at home, my family. Heart rate control, I have not sensed any palpitations, you call them, or highs and lows of your heart rate losing control of itself. That's not an issue for me. I do have a very high heart rate the entire day, including nighttime. My resting heart rate is anywhere from 90 to 120, just at night, sleeping or during the day. So it's always been high and it's stayed high. Is it really affecting me? No. So we're going to bypass the blood pressure. I'm sorry, the heart rate. The heart rate is steady. Hasn't had any wild swings or anything like that. Sweat glands. I am sweating, which is great. But when we had our first surgery for the shoulder that was canceled because of pneumonia, I wasn't sweating with 104.5 degrees fever. So I had like 4 beads of sweat. Like you can't even tell. The sweat was from me being undressing myself, right? Getting into the gown for the hospital. So I do sweat. And I'm either too hot or too cold. So the stem cells really hasn't affected anything with my sweating. If anything, honestly, I sweat less than I do before. Before I oversweat, and now I'm like just sweating just enough. So I think that's okay. Sexual organs, it's listed on here. You know, I'm an honest person. Don't want to be canceled on YouTube, but as far as usability of sexual organs, it has the ED has pretty much gone away, but there's no sensation right now. Before the surgery, ED after stem cells and before my shoulder surgery, ED had basically gone away, and we were not back to normal because we still have issues, right? But it was I was able to do my duties and perform whatever you want to call it. Being honest with you, now after stem cells, after the shoulder surgery, anesthesia, ED is not an issue. It's just there's no sensation to continue, to finish, whatever you want to call it. So you know that's a part of life with MSA. Right, just like I burnt my feet, you know, skin falling off because I couldn't feel the heat, well, or cold. I can't feel any sensations with sexual organs per se. Right, the sensation that makes you enjoy yourself is not there any longer. Okay, just between you and I, being honest with you. So you know, it's still nice to not have ED, but you know, what's the point if you don't have a sensation? you can't like feel it to do anything. It's a tough sell. Okay, but at least we're still working. Digestive system. So we're talking about difficulty swallowing and slow stomach emptying. I with stem cells pre-surgery, I was able to feel my stomach. You know, when I had to go to the bathroom, and I went to the bathroom, right? Um, Number one or number two, I felt myself. Everything was working. Nothing was getting stuck. Nothing was coming back up. It was doing very well. Post surgery, it was shot. Right. Post surgery is throwing everything into limbo again. Dysphagia, my difficulty with swallowing is back. Shout out to my daughter, Sophia, who saved my life the other night from choking on a pill sideways, aspirating a pill into the lung sideways. I'm choking a lot more, right? I'm laughing about it because I'm not going to cry about it, but that's that's the way life is. Okay, so post you know, after stem cells and before surgery, I had really no issues with swallowing and aspirating. Maybe once or twice did I have an issue with actual aspiration or choking, but after surgery, it's back. Again, the doctors tell you anesthesia is not good for people with MSA for a reason. It literally has shocked my body, my system. And keep in mind, not only did I have the full blown pneumonia before surgery, I had aspiration pneumonia after surgery. 2 days later, I was admitted in the hospital for aspiration pneumonia. So, you know, stem cells, pneumonia, surgery, pneumonia, and here we are now, right? But before the surgery, digestive health was not an issue from A to B. We're doing very well. My eyes, they still flickered. Not as much though, especially when you're closed. Did much better after stem cells. After surgery, I still don't notice them being very bad. They're still doing very well. Um, Double vision is still there, but not bad. Everything is just slightly off. So I don't think my vision has really changed, but the tremors that you get in your eyelids has gone down for sure. Okay, and even more so before surgery, which was nice because you can feel those when you sleep and your eyes are just shaking so fast. Skin and blood vessels. Interestingly, after stem cells, my purple slash blackish feet, my cold hand sign, cold feet sign had went away. I look down at my feet every day and I'm like, wow, they are the normal color. And it was nice to take off shoes and have a normal color skin, or after a bath, or not have very dark, shower, very dark skin, or for any reason having the dark skin. Stem cells took away that cold hand sign and cold feet sign completely. After anesthesia was a surgery, it's back. It's right. So I had 5 good months of no purple feet, no purple hands, doing good, and now post surgical, it's back. I know it was probably a couple weeks ago. It started creeping back up there. The motor system. So the Parkinsonism symptoms, muscles. Uh, I stiffness, bradykinesia, right? Slowness of movement, and akinesia, difficulty in initiating movement. I was doing so well post stem cells, pre surgery, that I really thought about trying to go back to work or doing something. I know that sounds stupid, especially after all we fought for to get on, Social Security and disability and things like that. But I felt so great that I was like, man, I can go back to work again. Then I have to remind myself that I have a terminal disease, and I'm just going to end up in the same spot at some point. So, I felt really, really good as far as the stiffness, the bradykinesia, and the akinesia. Again, I still take medications for Parkinson's, MSA, things like that. Typical medications that people take, and that helps as well. But stem cells definitely made me more nimble. I mean, I wasn't falling over, things like that. Which goes into the next one, limbs and posture, right? Tremor. You aren't to ignore the tremor, but tremor wasn't as bad eating, especially when you go to eat food spills everywhere, like typical Parkinson's people. When I was lifting things, action tremors weren't so bad until surgery. My posture is starting to go right. So we have PISA syndrome. There's a few ways that you have MSA affects your posture. And I notice my doctors are like doing this to me. They're bringing my head back up to the correct angle. So I do hunch over quite a bit more. That's just something we can. I don't think stem cells can control that. That's just something that comes with the territory. All right. Walking after stem cells, after the pain I had pre-surgery. Again, I felt so great. I was strong. Knees were strong, legs were strong. I was walking straight. I didn't go left or right. I didn't miss a step. Life was great. And if it wasn't for my surgery, I would have been running. I would have been trying to run. I promise you. So, it greatly improved my gait. The problem now is I'm back to shuffling my feet, back to dragging my feet, decreased arm swing, difficulty turning has returned. And that's definitely post-surgical anesthesia took that away. It shocked me. Now I'm very top heavy. Before I was tripping at the bottom. Now I'm tripping at the bottom and very top heavy, falling over. I've already fallen over numerous times on my repaired shoulder, right? And not that I want to do that, but I'm having to remind myself 6 months later to, hey, your MSA is back in full effect. Slow down, be careful. I still do. I still do halfway decent though. I don't use my cane still. A, I don't want to, but B, I still don't need a walking device, assistive device. So I believe the stem cells are still working in addition to medication. But the anesthesia from the shoulder surgery definitely took a piece of that away. Okay. Again, I think a lot of that is also because I'm active. I'm younger. I'm 45 compared to someone who's 60 or 70 or 80 with MSA. I think that plays a big part in it. To be very honest with you, it sucks to be younger with MSA, but it's nice because you can fight back with it much more than somebody that's 20 years older than you, right? Voice box. You can probably start to hear my voice going right now. And we only have so much to speak. And I still can't get around the fact that I have a paralyzed vocal cord, my left one. Have a gap in my larynx, in my vocal cords where air and mucus, spit, water, whatever can aspirate and messes even more up with your speech. So you can see my slurring of speech with this video, and if you pay attention, you can also hear my strained and quivering voice right now. So in addition to the akinesia, or the initiation of movements with your hands and bowel movements and neck and head, eyes, is also initiating speaking is very hard. I still have that issue. When I'm by myself right now, I'm speaking very well. If you ask me, when I get around any environment where there's lots of people, groups of people, people I don't know, Walmart, doctors, whatever, it gets dramatically worse, and I have to have my wife speak for me. I can speak, but only somebody who's trained in slurring and interpretation would understand me. So, did the stem cells help me? My wife did tell me that a couple months ago. She said your voice is much stronger. I still slurred words, but like I yelled at her name before from the bedroom, and she told me, she said, "Wow, like, your voice is very strong." So that can only be stem cells doing that, because it would have happened. We would have heard that before. So I still believe I'm talking much better because of stem cells. I don't think my shoulder surgery had any impact on that yet. That's just my opinion. The cerebellum, coordination and balance, ataxia symptoms. So coordination is still there. I'm not as uncoordinated when I'm standing as I am when I'm like trying to install a backup battery sump pump the other day. Hunched over, sitting down, or whatever. Um, Maybe I shouldn't be doing these things anyway. But the point is, as long as I'm standing, I still feel pretty good. But when you start to do multitasking or hunching down or bending over or whatever, trying to get into a small spot of your house, the clumsiness, the fine motor task is very difficult. So, I may look good walking down the street, but ask me to text and drive, which you shouldn't do, or do two things at one time. It's pretty much almost impossible to do. Dysmetria, overshooting and undershooting targets. walking, hands, whatever, that happens. My wife hands me things and I'll miss it by an inch or two or barely off. That's what that is, right? The spatial disorientation, so to speak. But it's not bad. You probably would not notice it if you were watching me missing a target, grabbing something, right? I have MSA-P more than C. Of course, I have both of them now, like everybody else does, sooner or later. But that's just the way that goes, right? We were all going to have that at some point in our lives. Balance or gait, unsteady, wide-based walking pattern, frequent falls. Yeah, I was doing so well until surgery, and the anesthesia knocked my gait movement, my balance off. It really, getting up and sitting down, I was doing so good until that anesthesia, and it really set me back. But that was a risk I had to take because I needed this shoulder to be fixed. I needed to try and fight on by myself, solo. I know I have my family and friends, but solo, I had to have both shoulders working. And with one shoulder gone, I couldn't. So I had the surgery. Okay. Speech muscles. Ataxic dysarthria. Slow, slurred, singing speech, which is different from which you can also get Parkinsonian dysarthria. But one word turns into four words, or four words turns into one word. My speech is, I think it's still doing very well. It's not as strong, but I believe I'm still very clear to people. Again, that's different if I'm out in public or a doctor's office or whatever, but right here, I still feel my voice is very clear. Even though you can feel the straining of my vocal cords and muscles, I still feel I'm speaking very well. I do, personally. Eye movements, jerky eye movements, the nystagmus. It's interesting because there's been many times since the surgery where things are flickering and it's like your refresh rate on your phone is 30 frames per second instead of 120 or 60 where I can see. I noticed the eye movements jerking because things I'm looking at are like a flickering movie film, 8mm, 9mm film. I can see it, and those are my eye tremors. So is it intrusive and horrible? No, but it's just annoying at times. It depends what you're looking at. Now, respiratory system is where my pain is. Most people with MSA pass away from complications of either complications of the lungs, like having a fever and it turns into pneumonia and complications in the lungs, or flat out stop breathing because the brain cannot send signals through the spinal cord anymore. And stridor, noisy breathing, vocal cord paralysis or dysfunction, sleep apnea. I don't have sleep apnea, but I have everything else. Aspiration is at a peak now with my lungs. I just went yesterday for the entire gauntlet of PFTs, pulmonary function tests they can give you at IU Health in Indianapolis. And even my pulmonologist up here, I'm now on NIV, non-invasive ventilation, BiPAP, two pressures in and out to control my lungs. And once I noticed my throat, one thing that the stem cells did not help or stop was anything related to my lungs or throat. So That has continued to progress. I don't think the surgery made anything worse. I don't think so. But I did have pneumonia before and after, and it definitely took a toll. So, I just got most of my test results back from yesterday. Everything is low. Everything is subpar. I mean, bad. Hence why I'm on the machine. The question now is, are we going to go on oxygen? I haven't got that test back. But my lungs are having back-to-back pneumonias is not good. I don't get the cold. I don't get the flu, but I get pneumonia. Always have, always will. And the breathing part of my lungs, my breathing, my breaths per minute going 4 or 6 per minute instead of 12 to 16. That's the hard part, because I had back-to-back pneumonias and I did not know that, because all I felt was, the only symptom I had was pain in my hips. And just yesterday, they did blood work and all, and I'm low on some things, I'm high on some things, I'm normal, and right now it's like my wife and I are asking, am I sick right now? And the only way we can tell, hemoglobin's off. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that are off in the blood test, and we had breakfast after the visits, and we're like, am I actually sick right now? Because I can't tell. That's like we talk about sexual organs and eating and sensation. I can't feel the sensations I'm sick. That's why I got to pneumonia to begin with. I didn't catch pneumonia from anybody. I haven't been around anybody to catch pneumonia. But yet I got twice pneumonia for over the course of two months, pre and post shoulder surgery. Breasts are low. My MEP is low. My MIP is low. Right, volume is low. I mean, the lady yesterday was saying, your air intake is great. Your exhaling is bad. When I had pneumonia, you should have seen how much CO2 gas was staying in my bloodstream, because I wasn't exhaling it all the way. So, unfortunately, I already know that the lung issues is how I, like most people, will pass away. And when you have major lung issues with MSA, you tend to pass away quicker. I have my next video on YouTube will be exactly about that, about breathing issues and MSA. And it's completely correlated that once you get these lung issues, MSA comes quick and hard. It doesn't play around with you. So, while I might be on a breathing machine, this is very important to understand, which most people don't think about it. Just because I'm on a breathing machine does not mean MSA has stopped. The MSA is still progressing everywhere as it should. And I guess in a very bad comparison, you can compare it to the Space Shuttle Columbia accident where the shuttle pilots died on reentry. The onboard computer was compensating from the hole in the wing of the Space Shuttle Columbia. It can only take so much. It can only correct so much before the flight system gives out, and it can't correct anymore in catastrophe. If you're on a breathing machine, especially like me, over nighttime, you can have good, proper oxygen during the day and completely poor oxygen at nighttime. You can have perfect health during the day. At nighttime, it turns to crap. In my next video, I'm going to explain that, because that's what I have. During the day, I do pretty good. I'm not even out of breath right now. It speaks wonders to the stem cells. Because before, I would speak 10 words and I would be out of breath, walking up to wherever, going. I just came back from physical therapy for my shoulder. I'm not out of breath. I'm losing my voice, yes, because I strained myself today with my shoulder. in speaking, but I'm still, I have my voice, I have my breath. I just am not exhaling all my carbon dioxide outside, and the aspiration is the hard part. Um, I am aspirating too many things too quickly. So, which the next video will show that. So those issues are definitely back. Um, Again, I have vocal cord paralysis. Right, I don't have the high strider. I have a low strider. My my airway has narrowed, and what are you gonna do? Right, they just stretch it back up. There's a surgical option for my vocal cords to close the gap so I don't choke so much. But what can you do? There's only so much, and we are working on that. Um, Definitely, swallowing difficulties is, and the aspiration, pneumonia, the breathing rate, and oxygen is the most difficult right now. RBD, REM behavior disorder. My RBD is wild. Stem cells has not taken that out at all, and surgery has not helped. I still, every night, I act out everything, and I can show you more videos if you want to, but there's literally no change to my RBD. It hasn't gotten dramatically worse, but I still, my hands are everywhere. My feet are everywhere. If you watch the camera in my bedroom, I'm doing I'm doing work. I'm doing something. I'm flying airplanes, but RBD has not been affected by um, stem cells. It's only gotten worse, but not to where I'm punching my wife worse. Okay, it's just I'm acting out more, but not necessarily punching or being violent, which is good. Cognition and mood. Um, these are less prominent than other motor autonomic conditions, but they do occur. People talk about the brain, or the frontal lobes. That's where we have the executive functions. The higher tier decision making is on the frontal lobes. Um, but issues with planning, decision making, and cognitive slowing. My wife would say the same thing. Like, we're going places, and she's like, "We've been here like a month ago. We've been here 2 months ago. We were here 6 months ago. We were just here last week." I asked her the same question 5 times in a row because I don't get it. So long-term memory seems to be okay. Short-term memory has gone to crap and has got continuously and steadily gotten worse over time. Stem cells to me has not helped that out. I don't think. That's my wife again, but I don't think. In June, I have an appointment with my neuropsychologist to retest myself and see how cognitive has gone down. So I have a bad feeling about that one. I really do. Um, and your mood regulation, such as depression, anxiety, apathy, emotional liability, these bulbar effect, inappropriate laughing or crying, don't really have that. Um, if I have depression, I would never show it, honestly. Anxiety, you might notice it with my voice, but it's completely under control. I don't take medication for anxiety. Um, so I still think my mood is okay. I don't think I'm going off on people, my family, or um, anybody for any unspecified reason. If I yell, it's for a good reason. So I still think my mood is steady and not being really affected by MSA or my short surgery. So um, those are the main topics. Um, Thank you, Catherine. Oh, want to give a shout out to Ray Shower, Bruce Ray Shower in Chillicothe, Ohio, for asking about me. It's amazing how my mom speaks, and of course, my wife and kids, but people in Ohio that we know, friends of friends, of family and stuff, they're always asking. My mom's doctors, before they talk to her, they say, "How's your son doing?" I just want to say I appreciate everyone who's thought about me, or wished me well, or hope for the best. This is a losing situation. It's a lose no matter what, but we can still make it a positive. So I think everybody who has contributed has reached out, or even if you haven't reached out, good thoughts. Because this is what you have to fight MSA. But I will give a warning that the anesthesia with the surgery has definitely wasn't good for helping. Now, I was told by the Dr. Miramontes in Mexico that the stem cells would be, return visit would be somewhere around 4 to 6 months. The problem is that I had a shoulder surgery, a total reverse shoulder surgery replaced at 4 months. So it's hard for me to tell you, should I have gone back in 4 months or 6 months? How long did they actually last? Because I had a major surgery that was anesthesia that wiped me out. And then the aftercare, right? The pain from the shoulder hurts. How bad that was to cut your bones out and put it in steel, right? The pain. It's hard for me to tell you the stem cells lasted so long when I had that surgery. But I will say, I believe the stem cells would have lasted at least 6 months till now, if it wasn't for anesthesia, because I saw anesthesia directly affecting many parts of my body. Now, here's the problem that we're up against with stem cells. If I'm here before stem cells and we have a constant decline of my health, say a 45-degree angle, a triangle, whatever, and that's where I'm supposed to be after so long, because my body, brain, spinal cord is deteriorating from MSA. I'm supposed to be here, but with stem cells, I maintained. So the question is, I was supposed to be down here as far as my deterioration, but because of stem cells, I'm still up very high on the chart. The question is, what happens after stem cells runs off? After stem cells wear off, am I going to start losing at the same rate as before, or am I going to dip down to where I should have been to begin with from the start? That's the question. And I think the answer is, you're going to steadily decline over time like you were before stem cells. Stem cells can only do so much at a time. It's not a cure, but it can help and even correct certain situations, right? I mean, before my surgery, I was doing a lot of things I would never even think about doing before. I ran down the stairs once or twice in my shoes. I mean, never. I jumped down from the back of to help my mom looking for a dog. Like jumped off a big piece of concrete like 4 feet high, and I would never done that before. So the stem cells definitely helped in many ways that I can't show you over a video. It didn't help my oily skin, my skin issues. I can't stand how it ruins your skin, and cotton mouth, dry mouth and stuff like that. I will give another shout out to Gold Peak Tea. I'd like to be your MSA sponsor. They have the best tea. It's not underwhelming and it's not overwhelming. It's good, it's very good tea. But where we are going back for stem cells in the end of July, early August, and the doctor told me on the first trip, he said, you will not have that, you will not be using that cane when you come back to see me. I was relying on that cane before November, and up until surgery on my shoulder, that cane was packed away. So, I mean, now I'm starting to carry it a little bit because I'm unsure of my gait, my walking. But he was right. He said either 4 months or 6 months. If the stem cells are not working, he would suggest wait to 6 months and see, or 4 months come back early and like boost the stem cells you already have by giving you even more. He was correct. It was a life changer in more than one way. Again, it wasn't a cure, but it helped me with so many parts of my body that all I had to worry about was speaking. Again, the mouth to the lungs is the only things I had to really worry about after stem cells. Stem cells didn't affect that. But again, we were targeting a broad application of symptoms the first time we went in November, right? Spread everything out to stem cells, the brain, and the rest of the body, intravenous, and let's see what happens. It happened. I encourage it, especially a spinal injection. Anything to cross the blood-brain barrier. Using somebody else's bone marrow or stem cells, not yours, because we're sick. I'm not giving medical advice. This is my advice for me personally, right? It worked. You would be amazed at things I was doing, walking, lifting, maneuvering. I mean, I started doing dishes and taking things out of the truck and things you never even thought of doing before. It was great to not have these symptoms. So, did the stem cells help? Yes. How long? Well, they're supposed to last 4 to 6 months per my doctor before I would start to see anything negative. And technically, he was right because at 4 months I had my shoulder surgery. So he was right about the 4 months, but I can't tell you about the 6 months because I had a shoulder surgery with a major anesthesia that knocked everything, and 2 types of pneumonia, right? So he was correct, which is why we're going back and having a second treatment, more specific to lungs and throat than anything else. So, Catherine, thank you for your comment, by the way. Very kind. I have quite a few comments. Even Marina. Lost her best friend. I believe MSA. He was going through his journey. Stem cells weren't available to him. He was a Vietnamese vet that was exposed to Agent Orange. Yeah, that's horrible. Which is floated as a possible cause, but as I said, who knows? You're absolutely right. My uncle was exposed to chemicals in the first Gulf War, which was what they call the Gulf War syndrome, and he got MS shortly, down the road. So chemicals are very bad for. I have no idea what caused my MSA. I'm not even trying to guess, but yeah, it's definitely unfortunate that chemicals, whether it's pesticides for Parkinson's or Agent Orange for causes these things to happen. Um, my best to you. I mean, I'm sorry for the loss. It's horrible the way things go. You know, do you want to go with cancer or MSA or falling and breaking your neck with Parkinson's? You know, MSA is bad, but there are worse diseases out there like ALS. There are much worse diseases that are quicker and harsher than MSA, and you have to remember that. If you're listening to me, you have to remember that. You think you got bad now, but I still have my limbs. I mean, there's some people who don't have arms or legs, you know. So just keep positive. Um, I'll still be uploading and broadcasting. I think it's important to see the progress of MSA. Again, it's unfair. I got it at 41. I'm going on my fourth year. My symptoms started on February 21st of 21, and we got diagnosed in October and November of 22. So 4 years of symptoms plus, and you know, I'm still battling things. You know, I will say it again. You know, only do what you can do. Don't be me. I can't be you. You can't be me. But we can try to beat this thing, and you're not going to beat it per se. But there's no don't rush to. Don't be too safe. Being too safe, too cautious, will only let this disease go faster. I promise you that if I would have taken that wheelchair right away, or you know the breathing stuff right away, whatever, it would have been much worse for MSA that I have now, my condition, because I would be relying on it. Even falling on my replaced shoulder a few times in the last week definitely does not help. It hurts even more so than MSA. But I'm still thankful that I'm still trying to do things and not taking the simpler, not taking the easy way, but not taking the safer or simpler way out. Now, walking down long airports and stuff might change pretty soon, but walking down to long airports on a flight is a challenge for me. It's a challenge for me to do it, to be successful. I can easily get the wheelchair, and they can take me to TSA, you know, pre-check and to the gate, or I can, you know, exercise myself and do it the hard way, which I need to. I need to stress my lungs out. I need to exercise. I'm on a breathing machine that will keep the lungs going, the right amount of oxygen and breath. But if I don't have the strength of the muscles of the lungs, which now is going bad, how do you get that? How do you slow that progress down? By being physical, exercise in some way, and it could be as simple as not taking a wheelchair and actually walking your way to your gate. Now, at JFK Airport, it's a long way. I don't blame you here. I don't blame you for taking the wheelchair at some of these airports, but you have to be headstrong. You have to be petty at times. You have to be, you have to tell your mom, no, I'm not taking that wheelchair on the cruise, which I did. Right? You take the wheelchair, I ain't taking it. Right? You have to do these things because once you say no to that wheelchair on the cruise ship, you don't have a choice now. You are committed. You are committed. You have no choice. Nobody's going to carry your ass onto the cruise ship or around. You have to. Now, what type of short excursions and other things you do, that's quite different. But saying no to the easy path and saying yes to the hard path is the only thing that will slow us down and make you mentally stronger to keep fighting it. Do I have my bad days? Not really, because I'm so optimistic that I can do everything. I am. I figured out how to take a bath and roll over in the bathtub and get up by myself. Should I be doing that? Should I be doing that? No, but I can. Right? You find a way to put shoes on. You find a way to put shirts on. You find a way. I could not take off my jacket, sweater and jacket. I could not take off a jacket the other day. Right? So what did I do? I took the piece that was I can actually take off my hand. I took the piece of jacket. I closed the door on it. I shut my bedroom door on it, and I pulled it. I was able to pull my arm out while the jacket was stuck in the door. Yeah, you had to think of things, and there are places like companies like LG Electronics that has a bunch of add-ons for appliances for disabled and handicapped people. People that don't have hands, they just have a limb. They actually have or have lost the use of their hands. Right? They have these add-on products, snap-on, bolt-on products to open washer dryers and refrigerators, anything. If you don't know, there you go. I mean, there are elastic shoelaces. I use a type of those on my running shoes, so I don't ever have to tie my shoes. They're tied to begin with. They stretch when I put them on, and they're nice and tight. And I can take them off. They're elastic. There's even Nike shoes for people who can't really put their shoes on. They slide in, push down, and they lock. And they look really nice. I would wear them, and I'm very picky about my shoes. So definitely, please keep up the good work, keep up the good journey. Um, I will have another video about the breathing on my YouTube channel, but also another video about all my test results. I'm waiting for the pulmonology team to actually finish uploading all their documentation and clinical notes, clinical summaries. So I already know it's bad from what I saw, but that's life. But there will be another video, and as always, I thank you for listening to me. Again, if you have any questions, please ask. I'll try my best to answer them. Sometimes I don't get notifications right away, so send me another one. But I appreciate you, and I'll have another live broadcast soon. We can talk some more. In the meantime, I will see you soon. Thank you.